think there's a huge delay in but that's okay. I'll see. That's why I work at Yahoo and not Google. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here today. I'm very sad that I couldn't be there in real life. What happened was I'm doing a segment on Good Morning America, and like that happened with television, it got rescheduled and they ended up shooting it here in Los Angeles. So I didn't travel across the country, so I couldn't be with you all. And I am very sorry and sad about that, because I'd love to see all your bright, shiny, eager faces. I want to tell you a little bit about how I got started, for those of you who don't know. I started Katie Brown Workshop about 20 years ago with a show on Lifetime television. That show quickly became the #1 rated daytime show on Lifetime. And then we, oh wow, now I'm seeing everybody. Hi. So as Lifetime was happening, I also have written 7 books, and I have a line of products. It's everything from candles to sheets to towels. I have been doing television for 20 years. I worked with Lifetime, then the A&E networks, and then I wanted to produce my own show and own it myself. So I followed my hero, Julia Childs, to PBS, where I've been for 7 years producing my own show. And then Yahoo Makers approached me. You'll be happy to know that it was a Cornell who approached me. See, these relationships that you make in college really do turn into not only long-term friendships, but really fantastic professional collaborations. And Susan Kittenplant, who is executive at Yahoo, and Kathy Savitt, who is the previous CMO of Yahoo, are both Cornellians. And they came to me and said, listen, Yahoo are launching these, what they call lifestyle magazines on Yahoo, and they hired some bold-faced names like Bobby Brown for beauty, Josie for fashion, myself for home, Katie Couric for news, and I've been here about a year. Now, I know we're here to talk about social media and the power of kind of building a brand in this new world of the internet, and I thought Yahoo was the perfect way for me to kind of transition from this television figure and this television brand into the world of the World Wide Web. And I knew I would learn a lot, and I thought it would be fantastic partners, and they have been. And not only do I blog daily and do a boatload of social with Katie Brown Workshop, I also now manage and run this social movement, this maker movement on Yahoo, which is all DIY and all domestic home advice. And so I've kind of carried it over. And gosh, I guess that's my I guess that's my life in 20 years. And then at one point in there, I decided to get married and have babies, and that's interesting too. So I hope you can all hear me, and I hope that that is what that gives you some kind of a premise about what I do and what I've accomplished. What I want to say is, if you all are out there, and hopefully you are, about to jump in and try and build a brand and try and do it through blogging and periscoping and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the stuff that I work on every single day, all day, I would say to you, keep it simple, get a message, and keep beating that drum. You know, get your message, hone that message, decide what it's going to be. Mine happens to be life is better homemade. I believe that to my core. It's who I am when I wake up in the morning. I have turned my passion of everything domestic into a brand. And because of that, not only is every day filled with fun and joy and working with fantastic people who love what I love to do, but I believe it's made me a success, because there is an authenticity and an organicness to the work that I do and the message that we give every single day. There was just a beautiful article in the, I think it was a Wall Street Journal, about how celebrities were doing such a good job of building these brands online. And the reason why, according to this particular journalist, he felt they were so good at it was because they weren't always trying to sell something. And I believe that is parallel to kind of the brand that I've built. Yes, I like to sell things, and I want the bottom line to look shiny and bright and healthy. I want to have a robust company, but it comes from a very specific, very pure, very clear point of view that I, Katie Brown, have and has fostered, you know, over this 20-year career. And I think when you're starting a brand or starting a site or starting a service that you're gonna put up in this very crowded space, it is important that you have a very simple, very pure, very clear mission statement. And then once you have that mission statement, you guys, stay the course. Keep pounding that drum. Don't sway from it. Even, you know, you got to stay focused on something that should happen in an elevator pitch. I have the same elevator pitch I had when I started 20 years ago that I do today. And now I'm transforming it into this internet brand. So I think that's been my humble experience, and I'm sticking to it. And that's probably my best piece of advice. I think speed is super important in the internet. If you have an idea or you have a post you want to put up, don't wait till it's perfect. I was just at a Yahoo conference with all the smuckety mucks, and they had a panel including including the founders of Yahoo, who said, it's about speed. Get it up. You can make it perfect later. I think that's another very important thing to keep in mind when you have a germ of an idea and you go, I gotta wait till it gets just right. It's never gonna get just right. Otherwise you wouldn't be good at your job. You're always twisting and turning and changing, especially with the automatic feedback that you get from these social media outlets. And there you have it. I hope that helps. I'm here for any questions or whatever we do next. Thanks for listening to me. And changing, especially with the automatic feedback that you get from these social media outlets. And there you have it.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for dealing with our delays. We really appreciate it. I do want to mention with the format, so each of our speakers is going to talk, and then we'll have the Q&A. So we'll do it. You want to mute it? So that's how we will do it. And then to tag along to what Katie said about the elevator pitches, we will have the opportunity for that at the end of Q&A. So we'll give everyone a chance that's interested to stand up and give their 30 seconds or less as to why they're here. So a little bit more on that at the end. But I want to move into our next speaker. Loi Dascal is the president and founder of Lead From Within. And I'm just going to toggle this over to beautiful campus. And I'm going to hand it off to Loi. Loi, if you'd like to come over here for me, please, that'd be great. And go on to the next one.
Hi, everybody. What an honor it is to be here this evening, and it's a full house. It's great. So a little bit about myself. My name is Loi Dascal. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Lead From Within. And my firm is a global leadership and business consulting company. And we have been around for over 30 years. And my job, one of the tasks that we do in our business is that we create thought leaders in industries. It's when a CEO, when a startup, when an entrepreneur says, how do I stand out in the crowd? How do I become noticed? How do I become an influencer? That's what we do to help them. A little bit about myself. I actually blog, which is not my full-time job. I am a coach and a consultant. I write for Inc.com. I write for Fast Company as their business and leadership coach. It's called Ask the Expert. I write for Huffington Post. I write for Psychology Today. And next month, I have an article that's coming out for Harvard Business Review. Sorry, Cornell. If you had a platform, I'd be writing for you. I write 24 blogs a month, and it's not my full-time job. So I will talk a little bit about how do you work a full-time job and still blog successfully. I believe in systems, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. One of the things is they wanted to know, how did I get started? I am not of the young techie kind of generation. And I remember one day I was on the computer and I saw this platform called Twitter. I had no clue what it was. There were a few people writing in 140 characters. They were talking about personal branding, and they were talking about Twitter, and they were talking about blogs. I had no clue what it meant. But what I decided to do was enroll myself in a master class called Twitter and learn as much as I could about something that I didn't understand. And in a very short period of time, I learned a lot about what people were talking about, how to brand yourself, come up with an elevator pitch. Now, I, as a person, as a coach, as a consultant, wasn't thinking of myself as a personal brand. I was doing that for others, but I didn't think that Loi Dascal had to be a brand. I was making other people famous, and I was making other people thought leaders. And Twitter educated me in a very interesting way of teaching me that I myself have to become a brand. And in the very beginning, this is interesting, in the very beginning when Twitter started, I was mimicking what everybody else was doing. Everybody else was talking about, you need to tweet, you need to have blogs, you need to market. And I found myself being a parrot about everything that they were saying, but it really wasn't who I was. It wasn't how I was spending my day. And it's interesting, when I was on Twitter and I was mimicking everybody, I was just one of many. Then one day I decided, how is Lolly going to become an influencer? How is Lolly going to create a personal brand? And the question that I asked myself was two things. How can I help people with what I know? And how can I contribute? And I realized that I spend most of my time with very important people, changing and impacting the lives of others. And I decided that I was going to write about what I experienced at my work. And interestingly enough, I went from 2,000 followers about tweeting about marketing and about branding, and started to talk about what the thought leaders were thinking about, or what the problems that they were experiencing. And I wish I had the graph, because you can see it now. You can watch on Twitter, you can get your metrics and measurements all the way back from the very beginning. And I went from 2,000 followers to 10,000 followers, only because I made that little tweak on finding out what differentiated me from everybody else. And I started to talk about that on my social platforms. Today, I have over 1 million followers. They're all organic. And because I am an influencer on Twitter, because I get read a lot, one of the questions is like, how do you make money on blogging? Well, people start to woo you and ask you, can you write for our platform? And some of the platforms will actually pay for you to write for their platforms if you get enough page views. I am now one of the main contributors on Inc., one of the top contributors, that for a blog post itself, I can get over 300 page views, which is pretty impressive in the caliber of writing for a magazine. One of the things that I want to talk to you about, so that's how I got started. I started my blog post and I started to write about what differentiated me. one of the things that they want us to talk about is how do you generate income? I talked about creating creating a brand for myself, becoming an influencer in leadership and in management and in thought leadership. There's many ways of how you can make money off your blog. There's called affiliate marketing. There's called sponsorship. I personally don't do any of that because I want to keep my message very clear about lead from within. Meaning is it's always about who I am instead of pushing other people's products. But that's a personal choice. People can make choices on their own about what they want to do for their blog. One thing is very important. How do you get traction? How do you get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000? How do you get 1 million organic followers? So I'm going to give you some of my secret sauce. And somebody asked me if I was going to have a PowerPoint, and I said, no, I'm going to speak from the heart. So these are my secrets, okay? Number one is blogging is not a monologue. Blogging is a dialogue, and this is very important. So every time I write something, I think about who am I offering this to? Who am I bringing a solution to? Who has a problem that I can solve? So every single day when I write, actually the way I write my 24 blogs, I'll give you a little secret how I do this. I don't write every single day. Once a month, I take off from Friday to Sunday and I write them all. And I think about the problems that that happen in my business, and then I write about those problems for those 3 days. And then I just place them this way. Monday, you can find me on Inc. Tuesday, you can find me in my personal blog. Wednesday, you can find me at Fast Company and Inc. Thursday and Friday, you can find me on Inc. So if you're following me, you know that I have a system that if you took a vacation and you came back a week later, oh, you can find Lolly at this and this place because she has a system of where she shows up, which is very important to keep consistent. So the secret for me is, like I started to say, is about creating a monologue. Every time somebody comments, I actually have a conversation with them. If somebody retweets or mentions me, I thank them. If someone has a problem, I either send them to an article that I wrote that will solve their problem, or I'll write an article to solve their problem. It's always better to talk to the collective than to talk to one person individually. So if someone says, well, how do I become an influencer, or how do I do public speaking, or one of the thought leaders that I spoke to said, I'm a terrible networker. And so I wrote for Inc. an article, how to be a great networker, or actually it said how to not to be a sleazy networker. And it actually got a lot of hits. And so one of the things that's very important is conversation. I heard tonight, how do I have a full-time job and then blog? Maybe tomorrow or this weekend, I'll write something about that. But I do that too. It's like I listen to what people struggle with and I write about that. For me, blogging is about bringing value and bringing meaning. Meaning it's not about me. It's about the people that I want to talk to, the people that show up and read my blogs consistently. I'll give you a little secret about blogging. Most people will tell you that your article has to be anywhere between 500 to 700 words. I don't do that. I write 350 words to 500 words. I write very short, concise blog posts. I have people that say to me that they hang up these blog posts in the kitchen of where the teams are. It's just short, concise. I don't make a big deal about what I'm writing about. I just say, these are the 7 things you need to do for networking. These are the 12 ways how to create strong relationships, things that add value to your life. Another thing that I do is I try not to talk at people. I try to involve people, and I try to think about them when I'm writing. One thing that I do, this is a mantra that I ask myself every time I write: how can I help somebody? So before I write any article, I go, am I helping someone? Am I bringing value to them? Will it make a difference in their lives? So you will never hear what I ate for dinner, where I went for the weekend, where I am, vacationing. It's never like that. Everything that I do and write about is of service to others. I have 2 more minutes. This is like the Oscars. It's like the music is about to play. So one thing is very important is how, once you write and once people follow you because you're of service to others, how do you keep people to follow you? How do you grow to 1 million followers? One of the things, 2 or 3 things that I do. I see people, I appreciate people, and I acknowledge people. The minute you do that, they will remain loyal to you forever and ever. If you can do that with the message that you have, and we learned a few minutes ago, get your elevator pitch, know it, speak it, say it. When people talk to you, acknowledge them. This is how they remain loyal. Okay, fast. What else can I say that's very important? Okay, brilliant things. Let's see. Ask me any question that you want to know about influencers and following and growing. I will talk when there's questions, but something that I want to leave you with that's very important in order to become a great blogger. I believe in systems, as I said earlier. I have a system for social media. I have a system for blogging. I have a system for everything that I do, because you can get very overwhelmed with doing everything that you need to do these days. And so I believe in having a full life. And thank God my daughter's here today. And I'm very proud that she's here to hear me listen to this speech. And I want to spend time with my kids, which I don't blog about. But I do want you to know that if you have a good system, then you could have it all. Someone in the audience said to me, I don't think we could have it all. We could have it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lolly. Great. So we're going to move on to our next speaker, Laura Messersmith. She is class of 02, and she's the founder of Goldfinch and Scout. And I'm just going to go right over here, and you can just toggle right along.
Okay.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Laura.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Messersmith. I'm the founder of Goldfinch and Scout. Goldfinch and Scout is a cooking blog. It's focused on small kitchens, which I have one of here in New York City. Hopefully some of us can relate to that. So I started blogging about 2 years ago. When I started blogging, I actually didn't know what I wanted to blog about. I thought I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I changed my mind about 10 years into that process. We hit the reset button. We moved from Dallas, Texas to New York. And I remembered my young single days back in Boston with a tiny kitchen and having to adapt back to those skills. And I realized that as I was writing, the topic that came to me most easily was cooking, that I could tell stories about cooking and through recipes that otherwise felt awkward to me, that they felt strange. So I want to talk to you today a little bit about the process of getting started. I consider myself in the startup phase of blogging. 2 years is a fairly short time, especially with some great and more experienced panelists here. So the first thing that was really nerve-wracking to me is putting something out there in the world. If you're being creative, if you're sharing part of yourself with the world, you're putting that into the public. And that's a little stressful, like that's a little strange. So I want to share with you this great quote. I am a PowerPoint person. I'm a visual learner, from Ira Glass. And I'll let you read that, but it takes a title and is referred to often as the gap between what you know is good and what you're happy with and what makes your heart sing, what people want to share, what people want to know more about, and what you're actually producing, which sometimes is not that great, especially at the beginning when you're still learning, when you're still figuring it out. And when you're doing that on a blog, even if it's only your mom reading it or my wonderful husband, thanks, Mike, you're still putting some of yourself out there into the world. And so negotiating that can be a little bit tricky. But the biggest takeaway that I hope you will take away from this is you've just got to fight your way through. You have to do the work, practice. Not every single person starts out, and actually I don't think anyone ever starts out perfect the first time around. I certainly didn't, and I'm about to share something kind of embarrassing with you on this next slide, which is the very first picture that I took of a recipe. That's salmon with lentils. It's delicious. It's really, really good. You should definitely make that recipe. But if you saw that picture, would you make that recipe? I don't think so. You wouldn't pin that on Pinterest. You wouldn't share it on Facebook. You wouldn't like it on Instagram. I actually didn't put it on any social media. But this is where I started, with bad lighting, not knowing how to use my camera, cooking something that was good, but looks terrible. It really does. I won't pretend that it doesn't. Which leads to my next point. So let's move on. This is about a year later. This is after I took a food photography class. This is after I took a food styling class. This is after I learned how to use my camera. I understood natural light. I understood how to make food look a little bit better. So my message here is that part of practicing is getting better over time, but you also have to invest in yourself. So if that means taking a class, if that means looking at 1,000 YouTube videos, if that means reading your camera manual back to back, if that means asking questions, maybe that means reaching out to another blogger, asking for advice, or someone whose work you respect. Study that work. Why do you like it? Why is it good? So let's look at how Goldfinch and Scout has changed. So this is the middle. This is about a year ago. So now we have some shots from the last 6 months. Better, right? This is all me. These are things that I cooked, that I styled, that I took photographs of. This is in our apartment. This is not a professional studio. It's literally on the windowsill. It's on the windowsill of our apartment. But I learned how to use my camera. I learned how to pick props. I learned how to style. I learned how to make things look good. Blogging is a visual medium. There is such a huge, huge importance in putting out a product and putting out content that's beautiful, that's high quality, that people want to share, that people want to use, that will keep them coming back, that will keep them engaged. Food in particular being a sensory experience. You've got smell, you've got texture, you've got the taste, hopefully. On a blog, I can't share that with you. On a blog, I have only the visual. You can't taste that soup. You can't taste the crisp shallots and the shredded Parmesan on it. So I have to show you how delicious that is with the picture. I have to sell the recipe through the picture. I'm not sure. I want people to see what I'm making and seriously consider licking the screen. As a food blogger, that's my job. If you're gonna come back, if you're gonna see what I'm cooking this week, then this is what I need to show you. I need to encourage you in that way. So, wisdom from Ina Garten. She is kind of my spirit guide, I would say. I find her so inspirational. Both her culinary style, but also her outlook on life. And as your content gets better, as you begin to find success, as you begin to find followers, opportunities will come your way, which is awesome. But how do you decide what to do? How do you decide which opportunities to go with? And I think the thing that I've held true to, which Katie talked about, which Lolly talked about, is authenticity, and the idea that you're sharing a part of yourself and you should be true to that. And so in thinking about what your voice is, what your personal brand is, you also need to think about what opportunities make sense with that, what fits. So in considering that, you also are thinking about your process and how much time do you have before your blog becomes a success. How soon do you need to be financially successful? Are you doing something on the side? Are you freelancing? Do you have a day job? How long can you wait for the right opportunity to come along? And that will inform a lot of the decisions that you make along the way. So I'm really interested to hear some of your questions. I know there are a lot of people in the audience that are thinking about blogging, that have some blogs that they're starting. I'm really interested to hear what some of your questions are. In the meantime, because again, this is the social game, I hope that we keep in touch. Follow me, talk to me, ask me questions. Let's have the dialogue. And thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, Laura. I have been on her Instagram and her website, and you will like leave hungry. It's ridiculous. So excuse me. So now I'd like to welcome Liz Boright. She's class of 99. She's a social media editor at NBC New York and also a blogging instructor at NYU. So welcome, Liz.
Hi. Could you put my blog? It's travelog.com.
Oh, on there?
Oh, I can put it on here?
You want to pull it up? Sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So as she pulls that up, I can tell you the long journey of how blogging led me to my current job. So I started my blog in January 2009, which feels like fairly ancient history in blogging terms. But I had just gotten laid off at my job at Zagat. This was before Google had bought Zagat. So this was, like I said, so I got laid off in December 2008, and I was, feeling very sad and sorry for myself. And I said, what should I do? And I've been the senior web editor there. And I said, this is a great opportunity for me to start my own blog, right? So here I am talking to the Cornell Entrepreneur Network. And, this was my chance. So I took a bad opportunity as this will be my chance to travel and blog. So I actually had no prior travel writing experience, although I had many years of journalism experience. And I didn't even have a single trip planned. I said, well, I can write about my trips that were a few weeks ago. And from there, it sort of took off. And so how it led to my current job was that then I said, wait a minute, how am I going to get readers? And that was through social media. So I began building up my personal brands. And then with my strong personal brands, I did teaching at Columbia, and then I also teach at NYU. And then I had, that finally parlayed into a full-time job at NBC. So here's my job, and the blog had to evolve because in the course of all these years, I had 2 children. So I put up this tagline here, and I sort of changed my niche to family travel. So travel blogging is a huge genre within itself. There are conferences devoted to travel blogging, but really the same principles sort of hold true to everything of the ideas of having a mission and staying true to your brand and staying disciplined. So I know that there's a lot of people here who came here tonight because they're wondering if they should even start a blog. So I thought that I'd share with you some of the wisdom that I share with my students, because typically the students who take my class at NYU School of Professional Studies are very new. Either they want to take their blog to the next level and they've only just had a few posts, or they're completely new to blogging. And so everyone asked the question, like, why should I blog? And I'm sure that some of you, maybe when you told your friends that you were going to a seminar about the business of blogging, they thought you were crazy, right? They said, business of blogging, what are you talking about? Don't waste your time. Okay, so why should we blog? It's a creative outlet. So absolutely, like if you don't love it, don't do it, because it's almost impossible, I would say, though I'll let my panelists weigh in, to monetize anything the first year. So you've really got to be doing it. And often, you have a full-time job, you're doing it on the side, like this is what you're doing for fun. So it has to be a subject that you're passionate about. And that was me. So my thought was, I wanted to do this after, this was my chance to do my own thing, because even though I was the senior web editor at Zagat, there were several people above me, like telling me what to do. So then the next thought is that having your own blog offers autonomy and independence. So like I said, not only is it a creative outlet, but you get to decide everything. And also you're the graphic designer, you're the photographer, you're the marketer. Okay. And then also a blog can help you get hired because it showcases your work and expertise. So even if the blog itself is not going to make money the first year, if this is an area that you maybe want to segue into professionally, or it's even your professional area, suddenly you have a whole bunch of articles, a whole portfolio of showing people, your expertise. So in that sense, the blog content itself has value. Because people will say, oh, a blog, you're working for free. You're not working for free, you're working for yourself. So the content that you produce has value, whether or not you actually monetize it, right? So, I mean, people can, if you have a great blog, if you're blogging about, say, healthcare, you could get work as a healthcare speaker, a healthcare consultant, pretty much anything you're blogging about, you can easily get hired, not easily, but I mean, can lead to you, getting hired as a consultant or a speaker. And then, of course, a big plan for a lot of people is that your blog can be a source of revenue. So for me, I would do a lot of sponsored posts. We'll talk more about that. But that's often that you're contacted by an SEO company. And then they'll have you put in a link and then you get paid. So that's one way. That's the way a lot of bloggers make money. I think as Lolly mentioned, there's affiliate links. So there's a couple different ways. And then there's getting hired for projects that have nothing to do with your blog. So it sort of goes back to the idea of the blog. Of the blog sort of being a platform to get you hired as opposed to actually being monetized. And then also it's, so not only should you blog when you're blogging, you can enjoy, just doing it and, just the joy of sharing your photos, sharing all of your, sharing, all of this expertise you may have. But also these days, bloggers are taken very seriously. So if you're blogging about art, they invite bloggers to art openings. I mean, bloggers are considered press. So as a blogger, you can enjoy a lot of the perks of journalists. I mean, you can attend fashion shows not that far away from top fashion editors. So that's another thing. I mean, a blogger, once your blog is established as a following, I mean, a blogger turns you into a journalist pretty much. And often, brands especially really like working with bloggers because they have the autonomy. So, if a blogger sort of says, okay, I'm writing about this, they're writing about it, whereas a writer has to answer to an editor. So very often, I don't know how many journalists are in the crowd, but you could very much want to write something and then it gets slashed for whatever reason. Or if you're in TV, suddenly, your 30 seconds got cut because something else happened. So again, there's that autonomy issue. Another thing that I want to talk about is for the people here who are just starting out in blogging, and Katie Brown had touched on this, is the idea of having a mission statement. So that's actually the first thing that I have my blogging students do, is to write their mission statement. And even if there's people here who have been blogging for a year, you might not have written a mission statement. So I still encourage you to write one. And even if and also like anything else, your mission might change. Like I know mine did and my personal goals with it. So when I ask them to write the mission statement, I ask them to consider the following questions that I ask all of you too, as you embark on your blogging careers or fast forward them. So for what purpose does this blog exist? Who should read it and why? Who are you and why are you doing this? And what are your goals for this blog? So it's the idea of what your personal goals are and how the blog can help you realize that. So I always say it's two things. You can have a fantastic blog that people could enjoy reading, but then if it's not fulfilling any personal goals for you, right? Like if you're somehow not making any money off it, or you're just somehow not using it as a platform, then that wouldn't really work. So to me, for blogging to really work for the person, I feel that the two really have to go hand in hand in terms of it being like, how are you going to make this blog worthwhile for you? Because a blog post is very time consuming. It takes several hours. And then not only that, then you have to do all the promoting on social media. So I would say that's the biggest thing that has evolved since I've been a blogger. So how I sort of became a social media sort of speaker and all that was because I was an early adopter. And that was because not all bloggers were doing social media. But now I feel that to be taken seriously as a blogger, for the most part, you've got to embrace social media. I mean, first of all, people are mostly going to find your blog now through social media, right? It's either they Google the topic and they find it that way, or they're going to find it on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. How many people here are on Instagram? So I think Instagram, just in general, is a terrific place to build up brand awareness, right? To stay disciplined and to see how, I say, give your Instagram the same title as your blog, make it subject oriented. And I mean, of course not, some people may have sort of more philosophical blogs where this may not really work. But if there's any visual component to your Instagram, I say, just do an Instagram devoted to your blog. It doesn't have to be blog posts because remember on Instagram, you can't put a hyperlink, right? You can't directly drive traffic, so it's only for brand awareness. Whereas on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, that can drive you traffic. So now I feel like when you're making your blog post, make that headline so that it will do well on social media, and try to think, how is this relevant? I mean, that's the thing. Your blog post, think, how is this going to be shareable on social media? Everybody should always have that goal that people are going to want to share it, because in a sense that means people want to read it and people are enthusiastic about it. So I say, that social is a must. And in fact, I've seen a lot of bloggers are actually able to grow their brand more on social than sometimes even in terms of getting page views and that type of thing. And when you're working with brands or just trying to get access, they take social influence as a very serious thing. In fact, the whole idea of a blogger and a social media influencer often go hand in hand. So I think social, that's sort of been the biggest change from what I've seen. So in the beginning, it really was just more about blogging. Actually, this is funny. So this was a novel idea. So this would have been in June 2010. I went on what was considered the first Twitter press trip, not because it was from Twitter, but because it was all bloggers who had high Twitter followings. And I don't think that I think I maybe had 4,000. But that was considered high back then because all the platforms, they were beginning. Right now, this is years later and everybody's grown. But at that point, that was considered like a good following. But the idea was, wow, we're actually going to make you tweet. You have to use this hashtag. Everyone's going to use this hashtag, right? So, but now, I mean, in a sense, like if you're a blogger, and you attend an event, you're expected to be socialing and Twitter and hashtags. So it sort of went from this elite crew that was going to social this experience to now that's what's expected now, sort of at entry level. And actually, I will say that was a fantastic trip, although a small flaw in how much they want us to social this was that it was on a cruise ship. And I don't know if any of you have gone on cruise ships, but notoriously, right, like there's no cell access and like internet access. I mean, they had to all give us free internet access because it was for the purpose of sharing this on social media. But even then, you'd have to like be in your room and then you couldn't even get on. So in a sense, it was not perhaps the best place for social, but it was a fabulous trip, and I'll never forget it. And they even made Twitter cookies like of the bird. So I mean, this was seen as a novel thing. And now, like if you're going to do anything, often with a blogger, right? So here I am sitting here, and I hope some people maybe will be tweeting this out and using the hashtag here. But now that's sort of what's that's expected of a lay person. So I think that the expectations have really changed for bloggers. I love that I'm talking to CEN because everyone here is already an entrepreneur. One thing is, I tell people that way back, blogs actually first. In the beginning, the majority of blogs were actually more like diaries. It was a way for people to share like what was going on with their lives, and you could be sending your friends links and updates. Now, how are we all doing that? On Facebook, right? Like you think it's nuts. Like if a friend said, I'm going to start a blog so I can update my friends and family, maybe post a few pictures of the kids. Be like, that's called Facebook. Where are you? Right? So in a way, Facebook replaced, sort of replace that personal diary. And another thing of what I say to people is, a blog, it's, it's a lot of work, and then you need to, so what's great, and you need to, maybe get a designer, you need to have a lot of content. I mean, it's a big undertaking. And sometimes I say to people, can what you're trying to do be achieved solely through social media? Like if you're not a big writer, and instead if you just want to sort of point to other people, can you instead just build up a Twitter following? You don't necessarily need your own content. Is what if what you want to share is purely visual, maybe then do you want to put all of your energy into Instagram and becoming an Instagram influencer? I mean, they in a sense enjoy a lot of perks of bloggers too. So that's why I say, look at your mission statement, look to see how blogging is going to work for you, right? Because, you want to make blogging work for you. You don't only want to be the slave to this blog. Like that's the thing, like sometimes people say, oh, you don't get to travel that much anymore. Are you still going to keep it going? I said, like this, this represents like, I've got hundreds of articles on here, thousands of photos. Like this represents an enormous amount of my time. It's all been very nicely indexed by Google. Like, I want to keep this blog going till like I'm 120. Yeah. But, so, but like I said, but sometimes you're a slave to the blog, but you want the blog to be a slave to you. If anyone wants to reach me, you can contact me through the blog, and all of my social platforms, of course, at Travelogged.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Wonderful. So we're going to move into Q&A. And I am going to ask the first question from our live stream audience, actually, and I'm going to pose it to our panel while I try to pull Katie back up again so that she can participate. But the first question that we had for you was, do you ever run out of topics? So if one of you feels strongly, I encourage you to take a swing at it.
Well, I'll just go very quickly because we were all just chatting about how I feel that I'm behind. And I said, even without traveling, still, if you could lock me in a room for a week, there are hundreds of things that I want to talk about. So my answer is no. So I'm barely even getting out and getting traveling, and I still have a million things that I want to write about.
I would agree with that. I'm constantly thinking of new recipes that I want to try. I'm really inspired by what other bloggers are doing, things that I see in magazines, places that we go to eat for dinner in restaurants. Sorry. The answer shortly is no. I'm never at a loss for inspiration, and there are always new topics that I want to write about, new recipes that I'm interested in sharing.
So for me, sometimes I'm inspired, sometimes I'm not. And so because I believe in systems, I have a Word document that I keep open all the time. So the days that I feel inspired, I write all the ideas down. On the days that I don't, I can look back and I go, oh, I have some really great ideas. So for me, if I'm not inspired, I'll read something. My thing is to read a book a day. I've started that 20 years ago. I still try to do that every single day. And so if I'm not inspired by my own work, I hope to be inspired by someone else's. So some days I have good days, sometimes I have bad days. I'm human.
Oh, actually, can I add that? One thing that I tell my students, sort of help people starting out, is if you feel lost, think about what type of blog post you want to write. Because really, most blog posts can be categorized. Can be categorized into certain types. So clearly, if you have a food blog, you're mostly going to be writing about recipes. But I say, think, do you want to do a list post? Like, how can this best be told? Should it be a how-to post? Should it be a guide? Should it be a narrative story, right? Do you have one story to pull out? Or is it that you're going to sort of write almost more of a diary entry, right? Taking us through a day in which something happened. Should it be a photo-driven post? Like perhaps this calls for visual storytelling and you don't need that much text, but you have really great photos. Or is this more of a review? Is there something that you want to review, sort of an opinion piece? And then, also too, as a blogger, a big thing too, is someone begging you to write? Like if you feel like you're running out of ideas, ask friends if they want to write. Friends who don't have blog posts, who don't have blogs can often get really excited about guest blogging. So that's just a couple, but I always say to people, look at your topic and then see what structure and what type of post it lends it to. That can also help inspire you when you feel a little bit of writer's block.
Thanks, Liz. We'll take some questions from the audience before we get Katie up.
Can I say something? Sorry.
Go ahead, take it.
Okay, thanks.
Can I say something?
Hey, how do you feel about video logging? Because that's a really big thing with vlogging now. And so do either of you experiment with that media, or what's the next step? Because video web series is also like where media is going.
Oh my gosh. Talk right now.
Great question. I think it's very important. I believe that blogging should be 5 senses. You should be able to see it, feel it, smell it, all of that. So some people learn by watching something, some people learn by reading something, some people learn by seeing something. So I believe in giving a little bit of everything, which is very important. It's even more important now. Another way that nobody mentioned here today, blogging doesn't only have to be about the written word. It can even be in podcasts. Now people are having their own radio shows where they talk about, problems, or they talk about situations. So taking, video to a new platform, podcasts are becoming the new. If we're going to be talking about in a year from now what was new, this is it. It's about podcasts is becoming very, very big when it comes to blogging. Instead of just writing, it's the conversation. It's the one radio man or woman.
Hi, can I
That
say
question made me
anything?
smile, just to jump in, because my husband has been bugging me to do more video, because that is an area that brands are very, very interested in investing. That's content that they need. And so in the same way that someone who is an early adopter of Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest, if you're really good at Vine, if you're really good with Periscope, with Snapchat, things like that, you could be the person that has the 1 million followers. So stay tuned for more video from Goldfinch Scout.
Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Okay, we're gonna try with Katie.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Can
It's
anyone?
eager to talk to you, so let's see if our technology.
Can anyone hear me? You can hear me.
Say yes.
I have so much to say. I'm so excited. Thank you for turning me back on. All right. I'm just going to go for just a second here. First of all, inspiration. I think I love what everybody's saying up there. Yeah, you have good days, you have bad days. Let me tell you something I've learned here at Yahoo, and that is get some partners. People say invite a friend. Yeah, that's a good idea, but you can also share other posts. Here at Yahoo, 30% of our traffic and at the blogs that I do at Katie Brown come from other people I want to feature, whether it be an Ina Garten or a Bobby Flay or a Brit & Co. So you can mix it up, and it doesn't always have to come from you. We talked a little bit, someone up there talked a little bit about building a community. Yeah, it is a community, and it doesn't just have to be your audience. It can be your peers. And so highlight them as well, and they will do it back for you, and therefore your reach will be increased. Remember your headlines. Headlines are super important for SEO, and they're super important to kind of get your tone and your voice and your style out. Work on those headlines. Study other people's headlines. See what's working. Test your own and see what's working. Do lists. Lists are magic. People love to read top 10 here. You're not going to believe number 4. I mean, some of these are tricks, but play with them because they really work. And now I just have to, I mean, there's so much more I want to say, but I'm going to talk about video for a second because obviously that's where I live, that's where I come from. One of my most successful things that I did on Katie Brown, my own blog, was I started to shoot Facebook. Facebook, by the way, now you can put up video on Facebook for the past week, and it's been fantastic, so do it. But I started to shoot little videos on my iPhone. And I think people get intimidated when it comes to video. You know, you have to have great production value. You have to have, you guys talked about this being a visual medium. I agree and I disagree. I think that amateurness, especially when it comes to video, can be really appealing. And for my audience in particular, they feel like they're seeing a little bit of me. And I shoot it on my iPhone, and I learned how to edit it on my computer. So do video, do it often. It is all they talk about here at Yahoo, and there is a lot of people a lot smarter than me that say video, 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 video. So if you're starting a blog now, make sure that at least 50% of your posts are video posts. There you go. I'm done. Thank you.
Next question.
I'm curious how you've come to find your voice on your blog.
So for me, that's something that took some time. I talked about it when it comes to photography and the content, but I think the same message is true of your voice and deciding how much of yourself you want to share. Some people do write about their children, some people write about their travel, some people write about cooking. So I think as you get more comfortable and know who your audience is, I think your voice will come through in that way.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in, or should we go to the next question? Sure. Next question. Okay.
Hi. As you start to find that voice and share yourself, how do you keep yourself also on the other side of security protected and kind of keep certain things, as much as you want to share, how do you keep certain things private?
So I'll take that a little bit. So remember, you're always 100% in control of what you put up there. So so in that sense, it shouldn't really be a risk because, you're the one who's hitting publish. And I always say, I mean, Facebook has a privacy filter, but, that you could set a post, let's say, if you're just Facebooking, you could say, okay, only to this list, and Google Plus has privacy features only to this circle, but you are your best privacy filter. So if you're worried about something or being too private, I simply say just don't put it up there. In terms of social media sharing, and this, again, can be a big issue for travelers, is that posting things after you leave the place. Or likewise, if you are, for a lot of bloggers though, I mean, it can be, posting after you leave, even if you're not comfortable, like if you're at an event and you're there alone and you don't want to say where you are, so then just send a tweet after you leave. So I think there's that. I think people should be careful. I mean, not only just security and someone coming stalking you, but also, just protecting your personal life. But I do see some bloggers who've done amazingly because they will put very raw things about marriage and kids and all that, and some it works for, and sometimes they have real repercussions in their personal life. I mean, for me, I don't, my blog is not that personal, and in fact, it probably could stand to be a little more personal, but I'm a private person and I value security. So I think with anything, you really have to strike a balance, but there's so much you can do. You can share so much of your experience without sharing things that are super personal or super private. So that's how I feel about it.
I agree. I mean, I write a lot, but I keep it very private. I'm in control.
So we actually had a question come in from the live stream, and it was, how do you make money? Point blank.
You want to talk about
Well, I already started. I mentioned a few things, so why don't you guys?
So there's a couple of ways. I'll mention some, and then so there's a thing called affiliate marketing. Does anybody know what that is?
Yes.
So if you have a large following, these are the measurements by how you qualify. If you have over 100,000 people following you on your newsletter, if you have unique visitors of 1,000 for your blog, what will happen is other influencers will say, I have a product to sell. If you talk about it in your newsletter or if you blog about it, I'll give you 50% of what we make. So the goal is to create a large following for people to read your blog so you can make money off of other people's products. That's one way. There's another way, which you talked a little bit about, is sponsorship, which I'll just touch on a little bit and you could elaborate, is if you're a traveler, a blog traveler, or you have a certain product, somebody will say, well, if you mention our company on your site, then I will give you money every time it gets hit. Somebody hits on it or clicks on it, or there's a click-through. I personally, as I said, I don't do it. The only way, full transparency, I do make money off of ink, which I said was, it's very little, but it's because I have a large following, it ends up adding up. So they pay me 9 cents per page click. But if you get 300,000 and you write 24 articles, it's not the way I make my money or my living, but it's a nice little paycheck, an added bonus. So that's a little bit how you can make money off your blog.
I would just add to that partnerships with brands. Eventually you will find that you're contacted by brands who want to work with you in some fashion, as Lolly mentioned. I've also been contacted to basically ghostwrite blogs for brands professionally. So that could be a way that your blog can generate money for you, even if it's not advertisements on the blog or sponsored posts on the blog.
Can I say something here? Can people hear me?
Okay, let's see if we can bring Katie up to respond to that.
Okay, hi, I'm here. Can you all hear me? Just shake my head. Shake your head, yes or no. Okay, I'm here. Okay, so I hope you can hear me. Making money, this is going to be maybe controversial to say, but I think it's a secondary. You worry about getting your message out first, and I swear if you build it, they will come. I am a case study for that. Money comes second, and if you've done a good job building it, trust me, it will come. And that's my first bit of advice on that. And my second thing that I don't think people are doing enough of, I do DIY and food. I pay bloggers and video content creators who are, up and comers, and $250 a post. So sometimes you can go out to big brands like the Yahoos, like the Googles of the world, find out who's creating the content for those sites, and see if you can create some things for them. And not only will it help you monetarily, but they'll also, that your name and your link to your blog will be on these giant Uber sites that have tons of traffic. So don't forget about the big brands when you're out there creating this content.
So we're gonna, do we have somebody in the audience? Yeah, okay, great. Okay.
This is actually for Katie. What did you mean by don't wait until your post is perfect? How do you know when it's perfect?
What I meant by that is it will never be perfect, and that is the beauty of the internet. Unlike myself, who spent 20 years in television, once I make that television show, I can never touch it again. It's out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The great thing about the internet is you guys can always change it. You can keep making it better. You can keep honing your message. You can put a post up there, and you can take it right back down. We just did it today at Makers with a beautiful new video series we're doing. So I just encourage you to just do it. That giant Nike sign, just do it. Get it up there. Perfection, you will never achieve, and thank God for that. Otherwise, you can be done with your job. Get it up there, get it going, just do it, and tweak it as you start to hear and as you start to evolve. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Katie. Okay, we have time for one more right here in the front.
Thank you. Question to all of you ladies. There's a lot of controversy on how long the post should be. And I tend to write long posts, and I have to cut them in the middle into pieces. What is your recommendation? Do people have small amount of concentration to read posts? Do some types of posts lend themselves to larger number of words? What do you think?
As I said earlier, I don't write long posts. There's a lot of information out on the internet. People don't have time. If I want readership, I give people what they want. If they only have a few minutes, my posts are very short and concise. If you have a lot to say, I tell my clients break it up into parts. You want people to come back. Sometimes at the bottom of a post, I'll write, look forward to part 2 or something like that. But I really try to keep it short. One of my clients who loves to write, she used to write 1,200 word page articles. It would go on forever. And I gave her a challenge this past March. I called it March Madness, where I said only write posts that are 350 characters, words long. And she said that her readership went up enormously. So I challenge you to keep it short and concise. Sometimes it's harder to write something shorter than to write something longer, but it's a great challenge. Make it March Madness for yourself.
I'll answer for myself. I tend to write the post that I need to write. So I'll write it longer if I have a lot to say, if it needs to be longer. And if I don't have a lot to say in the subject, then it's a shorter post. So I vary the length from post to post.
Well, first of all, I'm by no means an SEO expert, though I have heard that Google favors longer posts. So there's that. I personally, if it's getting long, I break it up because then you've got 2 articles. Then you've got more things to share on social media. I mean, my thought is that if it's getting that long, there must be a lot of ideas going on. And then there must be a way to break it up And in that way, in a sense, I feel that I'm actually getting more SEO mileage out of it, because then I've got 2 headlines going, right? One for each article, and they're more specific to the article, and then hopefully they'll help somebody more. So I'm a favor of, if it's getting too long, see if you could break it up. And then often what will happen is, then I'll just sort of end up with 2 long posts, because I'll be like, wait, now I've got to add to this one, I've got to add to that one. So it's not like oh, I split it and now I'm done with 2. Then usually each one then needs some more work, because I have a little bit then diverged from the original thing. But I say, if it's getting long, great. Now you've got even more content than you thought you did.
I want to add something to what Liz said, which Google loves. If you have a long article and you break it up into 2 parts, if you make a link from one article to the next and you drive traffic one from the other, it's great for SEO, and Google really favors it. I haven't been punished from Google writing 350-word blog posts, and I've been doing it for 8 years, so they think so. It's a little,
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that I've just heard that.
Right.
I'm not saying they would punish you, but I've just heard.
Yeah, because they change their algorithm all the time, and you
That's
always
true.
have to be one step ahead of what they're doing, because they're always coming up with new rules at Google.
Thank you. Let's see if Katie has any last words or something to add to that.
I think that my colleagues did a very good, thorough job. I just think there is something called engagement time that is really important to keep in mind. So whether you're shooting a video or you're doing a text post, I tend to go a little bit longer. I do a 500. We do 300 to 500 words. But I have to say, over the last few months, and like they said, Google changes their algorithm all the time, so you're always adjusting. They have been favoring the longer posts, and I don't know if that's going to stay or not stay, but they've been doing better for us, and the engagement time obviously is up, so that's a bonus too. So it's a win-win. So it's one of those things you're always going to be playing with. But it's a really great question.
Thanks, Katie. We're going to move into the open mic portion right now. We want to give everyone an opportunity to. Yeah, well, let's make it live. We're going to give everyone the opportunity to stand up and give a very quick elevator pitch as to why you're here. Maybe who you're hoping to meet, something you have to offer, a connection you would like to make. So just as an example, I'll use myself. Hi, I'm Amanda Hatcher. I'm the Associate Director of the Cornell Entrepreneur Network, and I'd love to talk to anybody that might have a venue connection for a future event. Always looking for new spaces. So see me after if you have any suggestions. So it is not required, but if you'd like to stand up and give a quick little pitch, I welcome it.
And I have the mic, but first I'd like to thank our esteemed panel, both Katie online and our panel here. Thank you so much. So who's going to be first to do our open mic? Please stand up, give your name, and 30 seconds.
Hi, my name is Carmel D'Arienzo, and I decided to start before I was ready, and I have a little web show called Cappuccino with Carmel, because I realized I like storytelling by gathering stories of other people. So I'm looking for people who are living with passion, on purpose, and in contribution, and want to be interviewed.
Wonderful. And is that your website?
No, we're at CarmelD'Arienzo.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Frank Romano. I'm here on behalf of my brother who's next to me. Otherwise I wouldn't be here, but I wrote a blog. I started a blog when I was out in California just because I had nothing to do. And I did it for a year. I loved it. And I work in sports now. I work for NBC Sports Group, but I'm looking to carry on that blog, how I can incorporate what I'm learning at work to writing, because everyone in the room, somehow is affiliated with sports. Either they know that the Mets are in the World Series, or the kid plays Little League Soccer, or something or other, and I'm able to relate to people on many levels. Sports is my passion, and I just want to carry it on. It was good to come. Well, it's my last name, Romano, ROMANO, F, like Frank, .mlbblogs.com.
Great. There you go.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Zweifler. I'm a plastic surgeon in Manhattan. I am here to make you all look good on your blogs, your social media, your selfies, and everything else. www.drmichellezweifler.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, I don't know, Instagram, wherever. See you soon.
Jay Kingley, class of '83. I've been doing business networking for a long time and have found it a very low return on investment. So the best entrepreneurial ideas are solving a problem that you have. So my partner Taz and myself have started a company called SOAR Networking to help business owners and executives make business networking efficient and effective.
Oh, that's good.
Something that our Cornellians often ask about, so I hope you'll share that with us and share your tips with us somehow at a next CEN event, maybe.
I'm Kyle Scott. I'm an associate producer at NBC News, NBC. I'm always interested in hearing people with interesting stories. That's just kind of what I'm always looking for, whether you have an interesting background or you're doing something that's fascinating. Always looking for people, so I'd love to talk to anyone with a good story.
Good evening, I'm Steve Engelson, and while you're all making people look good and while you're all making a lot of money through all your blogging, I'm here to help you spend it by flying privately on private jets. The company I work with is called Wings Jets. We'll get you anywhere in the world, and I mean that, anywhere safe and legal. We do the best job. We have engineers behind us. Didn't graduate Cornell, but we do have engineers behind us. So when you're thinking about flying, fly with Wings Jets. I'm Steve Engelson, and I look forward to meeting all of you. And by the way, anybody that can find me tonight through either by finding me tonight or by going on the list will get $1,000 off of their first $10,000 flight.
Done.
I'm Dina Markind, and I am a professional coach. My business is Heart of Wellbeing, and my focus is working with physicians and nurses, burnout to well-being. And I came here tonight because I would like to increase my blog getting to the right people. I have several people who read my blog, they like my blog, they open it up 36% of the time, but I need to get it to really my target market more. So that's why I came tonight.
Hi, I'm Carolyn McDonough. I went to Vassar, forgive me, and I just blogged on Flying Private. I blog on culture, art, and media because I tend to have very interesting experiences in culture, art, and media. So I am here to increase my followers, just that, and get to those magic metrics of 1,000, 100,000, 1 million, etc. So, cultureartmedia.com.
Hi everyone, my name is Adiola Adejobi. I graduated from Cornell Law School, and I am the founder of the Avant-Garde Network. We host monthly networking events in New York City for millennials, so I know of a lot of venues in New York, and I would love to talk to you after that. And if you're interested, let me know.
Hi, I'm Jody Atkinson, class of '81. I've written and created a web series called The Third Act. It's a comedic look at midlife and beyond, and I have cards I'm going to pass around to all of you. It's forthcoming. We've just done our crowdfunding, and we'll be filming this winter with a release in the spring.
Hi, I'm James Quandrono, another class of '81 grad from Cornell's College of Engineering, and I worked in the aerospace engineering as an aerospace engineer for over 20 years, went back to law school, now work as a patent attorney at a boutique intellectual property law firm. So if anybody has any questions after the open mic session, I'd be happy to talk with you.
My name is Miriam Ezike. I work in a college. I work with students who have student loans, and help them out with ways they can manage their student loans. My interest today is to learn more about how I can take that message out there, not just to our students, but to the public. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about how the loan process works, student loans. That's my passion.
Hi, I'm Maren Barnes. I'm the founder of Sweet Whistle, an online gift business which services the all-occasion gift-giving needs for curated gifts along with event gifts. So I've been curious about starting a blog for my business and think I have a lot of questions answered today as to reveal my passion. So for anyone who's in the need for their holiday gifting, head over to sweetwhistle.com, and thank you again to the speakers. I really appreciated your insights.
Up here and there. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we've got a couple over here, and then we're going to have to wrap it up.
Hi, my name is Marvin Showcrout. I'm really a serial entrepreneur who's semi-retired, but my daughter, who just began at Cornell as a freshman engineer, should be standing here, but she's in classes. And she, during her high school years, was doing an internship on anxiety and transformed that into an app for nutrition and how to treat childhood obesity. And we need bloggers. We're going to need a lot of things. And one good thing about our startup is we have the finances. The ATM dad.
One more here. Yeah, we've got. And there'll be plenty of time to network after, too.
Hi, I'm Jordan Cratton. I'm a sophomore in high school. About 3 years ago, I started a life and style blog with my best friend, and we post everything from beauty tips to fashion posts. And I just want to meet other people who have my same interest in blogging.
And what's your blog?
Oh, it's Shadowing Gloss. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you. All right, and we're here real quick, and we'll do these three here.
Hi, Karen Hansborough, class 84 Hotelli, and my business is Go and Groove, and I organize women's trips, cycling trips, several other things, but it's taken a halt because it's been a busy, kind of crazy year, and I'm trying to step it back up and reinvent myself and decide I have a blog, but I go and forth, and I jump from professional stuff to personal stuff, and I get a little back and forth, but I'm big on Facebook, Instagram, etc., and really appreciate all the, advice, etc., that you all gave us tonight. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hank Zona, class of 82. I'm an ILR who's kind of morphed into a hotelli. I'm a self-taught wine educator, and my business is called Grapes Unwrapped. I write a blog. I run wine events. Next year we'll start doing travel. I do a TV show also called Grapes Unwrapped, and so I do all kinds of little pieces of everything. And I came here to try to see how to tie it all together and how to build them all at the same time together. Because as Americans, we're all drinking a lot more wine these days. Everyone wants to know a lot more about it.
Great. Stay safe.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Liz, you wanted to share something real quick? Hi. No, I just wanted to share that for years I've been doing both blog consulting and social media consulting. So I just saw that I heard a lot of people saying that they were looking for ways to develop their blog and develop their social media following, and that I've not been able to do the consulting, but I'm picking it back up in January. So if anyone is interested in getting the year off right and would like some tutoring, please get in touch with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I just want to thank you guys again, Lolly, Laura, and Liz, and Katie on Google Hangout. Thank you so much for joining us remotely. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for these insights. They're just I just want to let everyone know that we will be sending a follow-up email to everyone that came tonight first thing tomorrow morning. So look for that. There is a short survey in there, so you can just let us know what you thought. Hopefully it was great. But in that, once you take the survey, you'll be directed to several links. And one of them is the See Who Came list. And on that, you probably saw it before you came. lists websites, LinkedIn profiles, company, job titles, all that stuff. So we want you to keep networking after the event. We want you to find each other. And then we also will include a link to a spreadsheet with contact information. So you can get in touch with one another if you miss each other at the end of the night. So look for that. We ask that you use that information with tact so that we can continue to provide it. Please don't add the whole list to your newsletters, you know, so we would really appreciate that. And then also, because we live stream this tonight, we will have a recording, so if you want to refer back to it, we'll put the link there as well. And so, yes, thank you to our live stream audience for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. And one last thing, we will be back here next week. There's the Entrepreneurship Summit next week. It is Friday. It is an all-day conference, and it is a wonderful entrepreneur conference. It's our third annual event, annual summit, I apologize. And we're actually going to have our new Cornell president there as well, as Elizabeth Garrett will be an honorary guest, and she will be awarding our Entrepreneur of the Year, Bob Langer. So it should be a great event. I hope I see a few of you there. Registration, it's next Friday, November 6th. So just over a week. And registration is still open. So hopefully we will see some familiar faces there again. But I just want to thank you all for coming, and we really appreciate your patience with the technology. It is a beautiful thing. So we're so lucky that we're able to do all of this and bring Katie in from LA. But I really appreciate your patience in person. So I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time. So, thank you.